Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album War. Today we're going to look at two studio albums from two personal favorite guitar players of mine. But more importantly, there's something that ties both of these albums together. All right, one's from '79, one's from '82. Both albums feature a then new lead singer to the band, and in both instances it would be the same lead singer. And in both instances, it would be the one and only time that they would appear as sole lead singer in the band. Okay? As it would turn out, this singer now kind of plays with one of the guitar players again in kind of like a support role with other singers. All right, but that's a story for another time. We're talking about '79's Down to Earth by Rainbow and '82's Assault Attack from the Michael Schenker Group. All right, so two really cool albums, I think. Both very, very good. Let's start with this one, our first combatant in this war today. So this is the fourth studio album from Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, of course, the band he formed after leaving Deep Purple. The first three albums would feature the late, great Ronnie James Dio on vocals. Ronnie and Ritchie had a parting of the ways after the Long Live Rock album. Ronnie would go on to join Black Sabbath, but in the meantime, Ritchie went out and found a new singer, and a kind of like an unknown guy named Graham Bonnet. Okay. Also in the band at this time, it's the last studio album featuring Cozy Powell on drums. Okay, you got Don Airey on keyboards, and joining the band, Ritchie's old mate in Deep Purple on bass, as well as producing the album, Roger Glover. Okay, some really cool tunes on here. A kind of a different shift, a different direction for the band. All right, the first three albums with Dio, very different, much more in a kind of like heavy metal, power metal, epic metal, dare we say progressive metal mold, very dramatic. Okay, long tunes, lots of great instrumental passages, Dio's commanding vocals. Whereas on this album, you can see the shift as the '80s are coming towards a slightly more commercial sound. You've even got a couple singles on here from the band, right? Kicking it off, you got All Night Long, which became a radio staple, okay, written by the band. Eyes of the World, that's kind of more like the Rainbow we knew before it, okay? Very cool, kind of epic sounding tune. No Time to Lose, more of like a kind of like a boogie rocker, all right? Making Love, another good crisp hard rocker. Since You've Been Gone, okay, we got some outside writers helping out here. Another hit single, probably one of the more well-known tunes as far as like from a radio standpoint from the band. Love's No Friend, more of kind of like a atmospheric bluesy rocker, really good tune. Danger Zone, I love Danger Zone. That's a really good hard rocker from the band. And then the great Lost in Hollywood, which again probably harkens back to the Rising era type of material. Ritchie's still kind of holding on to that epic sounding hard rock and metal, which he played so well, throughout the first couple Rainbow albums and certainly through a lot of Deep Purple. A really strong album, a great performance by Graham Bonnet. I remember when this first came out, I was kind of like, wow, who is this guy? Pretty good voice. You look at him and he doesn't really look like the prototypical rock and roll singer, but he always had a great set of pipes on him. And a lot of good guitar playing from Ritchie on this album. I dig this album. While it's not like my favorite Rainbow album, it's definitely one of their better ones, certainly after the Dio era ones, right? Very solid. Very, very solid. Next up, 1982's Assault Attack. So, by this point in time, Schenker already couple years out of UFO. He has put together the Michael Schenker Group. They released two sensational albums. The first album, okay, Michael Schenker Group, and then the second album just titled MSG. Okay, Gary Barden on lead vocals on those two albums. You got various players on both. The first album had Simon Phillips on drums. Second album had Cozy Powell on drums. Okay, here you got a different lineup. You've got Chris Glenn and Ted McKenna. Okay, guys who are, familiar to many from the British rock and blues scene, okay, Rory Gallagher and so on and so forth. And then, of course, on lead vocals, Graham Bonnet. Here he is again. A couple years after his stint with Rainbow, which, lasted for the one album and a tour. That was it. And then here he is with Schenker, The results are magical. What do we got here? We got the Killer Assault Attack. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. Rock You to the Ground, grinding heavy rocker. All right, Dancer, probably one of the more commercial sounding tunes on here. Good pop hooks in that song. Samurai, Do You Live to Die? Great tune, one of my personal favorites on the album. The fantastic Desert Song, dramatic, rocking, blistering guitar solos from Schenker. Broken Promises, cool heavy rocker there. Searching for a Reason, catchy tune. And then, of course, finalizing the whole thing with Ulcer, cool little instrumental. So a really good album. Probably some of Schenker's best guitar playing on those early Michael Schenker Group albums, I think. Probably, the first three, man, are so good. The first three MSG albums are so good, and this is no exception. Of course, this lineup will be short-lived because the band did the album, released the album, set to tour. They're going to play the Castle Donington, the Reading Festival, one of those big festivals in Europe, and Bonnet gets all sorts of drunk and pisses on himself or whatever and pisses off Schenker. And that's it. You're out of here, buddy. So, and I know he's said it many, many times, but Graham has often been quoted as saying one of the biggest mistakes of his career. Not sure what he was thinking, and regrets it. Thankfully, all these years later, the two have mended fences, and Graham's been recording with Schenker again in the Michael Schenker Fest, doing the tours with Gary Barden, and all the old lead singers from the band, Robin McCauley, so on and so forth. So everybody's friends again, which is cool. But when it comes to these two albums, all right, now, as all of you know, I am a huge Blackmore fan. He's my favorite guitar player of all time. Okay, love Rainbow to death. Of course, you know my love for Deep Purple, right? However, in this battle, I'm going to give the win to Schenker because, again, I love Schenker. He's also one of my favorite players ever. Okay, and this is my favorite MSG album. Okay, just over that first one. The first three are fantastic. I just always listen to this more than this. Like I said, this is a great Rainbow album. It really is. I love the first three with Dio better than this one. I might even like, this album, Straight Between the Eyes and Down to Earth, for me, are really, really solid. And I probably like this one maybe a little bit better than those two. Hard to say because all three are really good. But in my opinion, all three of those albums I mentioned are a little step down below those first three with Dio. But still a really, really great album. Some great tunes on here. I just like this album a little better, and I always have. Throughout my life, I've always listened to this more. There's just something that really, really clicked with me. And again, it's got some of Schenker's best playing. Bonnet sounds incredible on this album. The rhythm section is killer. Great tunes top to bottom. Whereas, this, of course, a lot of great tunes on here. I just think this is just a little bit better. Personal preference, right? Your opinion may differ, and that's cool. So in the comments and feedback below, let us know which album you favor of these two and why. It doesn't really matter, though, in the end, because they're both great. There's no right or wrong here. There's no losers here. It's just an excuse to talk about two very cool albums that may be in the same genre, maybe came around the same time, or have some circumstances that are similar. In this case, one and only albums, at the time, with Graham Bonnet on vocals, first time with a new singer, that whole thing. Anyway, just a cool excuse to talk about two really great albums, which I dig quite a bit. Curious to see what you guys think, but I think it's a good time to go pop both of them on and relive the greatness, because that's what these shows are all about, is just kind of talking about and listening to classic albums once again. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility. We're on Facebook, where the poll is live as of this morning. Rainbow had like a 5-vote edge about 2 hours ago. That may have changed since then. We'll see. I think this one's going to be close. I had a feeling it would be. All right. Go ahead and vote on our Facebook page. Visit us on Twitter, where we announce all sorts of cool stuff that we're doing. But more importantly, we're here on YouTube every morning with these classic album wars. I got a top 10 songs show coming up. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe Friday, but it's going to be one or the other. Okay, should I spill the beans? Yeah, I think I should. Top 10 songs, Wishbone Ash. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you real soon, guys. Take care.